Hey there guys, Steve back with you today. Today I'm talking about something known as adrenal fatigue, adrenal dysfunction, HPA dysfunction, cortisol dysregulation, cortisol fatigue. It's got many different names and it's been thrown around this concept for quite a while, and a lot of the times it's done in the wrong sort of context or the explanation's been poor. Today I wanted to talk about the relationship between stress and what's happening in the body and what happens over time. And this is known as the phases of adrenal dysfunction. In the first phase here, we can see firstly our cortisol is up here, time is down the bottom. So cortisol is going to go up over time and then go down as the stress is exposed to us. In the first phase here is known as homeostasis. This is where everything is balanced. We might be having some stress, but we're largely dealing with it. And this is when our body makes adaptations. This is when we have muscle gain, fat loss, increased cognition, and we're generally improving our body and getting healthier. Now what happens in the purple here, this is when we have a large stress response. We have something stressful happen to us, our cortisol goes up, heart rate goes up, sympathetic nervous system goes up, and this is where we're operating for a short period of time. Or so we should be operating for a short period of time while we deal with the stress. What's important to know about this phase is that it feels good. It feels good to be in this stage. It feels good to have a cortisol response. And it's really important as well. It's important to produce cortisol at the right times so that we can respond appropriately. And it sends the right signal to the body that this stuff that I'm doing is important. Where this turns ugly is when the stress goes on for long enough that our cortisol response is dampened. This can happen in a number of ways. The cortisol can stop being produced as frequently. We can stop or diminish our response to the cortisol, so our receptors aren't sensitive enough to take on the cortisol. But that aside, we're just not feeling like we were. We're not feeling like we were in the green, and certainly not feeling like we were in the purple. This is where we see things like HPA axis dysfunction, causes weight gain, muscle loss as well, muscle wastage, and also cognitive impairment. So we just don't feel like we were. And what tends to happen when we're in this orange, the way I see it and the way I see a lot of people in this orange, is they're looking for compensatory mechanisms to get them back to feeling good. Because remember, the purple is when we're feeling good, when our sympathetic nervous system is high. So in this orange phase rather, we're looking for things to get us back to that purple, to have us feeling good again. What do we look at? Caffeine is a big one. Exercise is another one. If we're doing a lot of high intensity exercise, just to feel that energy, just to feel that stress response, it could mean that we're stuck down here. The red, this is where we get sick. So this is when cortisol wears off, and we know that as cortisol is an anti-inflammatory, so when it's high, we're probably not going to get sick or injured. As it wears off, this is where we see things like fatigue, it's where we see things like flus and also injuries. At its worst case, autoimmune conditions as well, when cortisol, the stress response is prolonged. So you might be thinking to yourself, what can I do to get back into the purple or get back into the green, ideally? There's a great book, Role of Stress and the HPA axis and the stress response. This is a terrific book. It outlines 4 things that we can focus on. The first being our stress, our perceived stress. So how we take things on has a lot to do with the response. Things that can help this, firstly, just monitoring our external environment, working out what's making us stressful. Secondly, inflammation is huge. If inflammation is chronic throughout the body, we're going to have this stress response prolonged. If inflammation is kept low, that's when the body can start to heal. Inflammation can come from different areas as well. The gut, the brain, bones we're even finding now can hold an inflammatory response. Thirdly, blood sugar. If our blood sugar is dysregulated, cortisol is going to go along with it. Insulin and leptin, these 2 hormones are going to be impaired, and we're going to have issues with our cortisol if they're dysregulated. Fourthly, I think this is the most important, is the circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm refers to the light exposure throughout the day. So ideally in the AM, we're getting a dash of sunlight. That's going to be terrific for managing our cortisol. Like first thing in the morning, if you can get some sunlight, it's amazing for you. And then towards the end of the day, we're getting less light. And ideally, this is where screens, we've got to turn them off at nighttime because we're replicating that circadian rhythm that should be happening in the AM. We've got to turn those off in the PM to make sure we're producing melatonin as opposed to cortisol. So it's a couple of ideas to float around with. If you think you might be in the orange or the red, or you want to see where you're at, a really good idea is just to monitor how you feel is the first thing. So first thing in the morning, we should feel at our best. You should be getting out of bed feeling energized, and then towards the end of the day, winding down. If you feel like you want to get tested, if you feel like there's something else going on, we recommend the Dutch test here at Effort Health. We run this test as well. This is a dried urine test, the most comprehensive hormone panel to test our cortisol and a bunch of other hormones to see what's going on. We do this for health coaching clients, and you can acquire that test through us as well. So the big things to worry about, guys, stress, sleep, lifestyle, fitness, all this stuff contributes to our hormone profile and generally how we're feeling during the day. So by getting a handle on all of it, we can get back into the green where we're starting to feel our best. Cheers.